Hello everybody and welcome back to INSANEBRIT Gaming. I am the INSANEBRIT and today we're going to be talking about Battlefield 5 and their pre-order numbers. Now we haven't got the exact numbers, but I do know that Call of Duty is 85% ahead in pre-order sales, and analysts are now predicting that it's going to be a very dismal sales for Battlefield 5 on the whole. But there's a couple of reasons for this and we're going to be going through them. I have looked at a bunch of different opinions on YouTube and stuff like that, but I actually believe that it's a combination of things all connecting the dots that's really hammering this game. And that's before we even talk about gameplay, if it's good, if the story's good, blah blah blah, and I'll get into all of that. Before I address the elephant in the room, I just want to go down the basis of what I thought in the beginning, and that is essentially that, of course, I think most people felt that because Call of Duty had no story this year, Call of Duty people would jump to Battlefield. It had a story, it had multiplayer. Now, I always knew that people love Call of Duty and would buy it anyway, even if they'd had no story. I always felt that. In actual fact, I was worried about that being something long-term that they did where they just released the multiplayer and people snapped it up. Of course, they've included zombies, which appeals to a lot of people, etc., etc. And, of course, they want a piece of that fat pie. You know, a piece of that pie from Fortnite, where they've got a battle royale mode, which is easy to implement. It's a fucking patch. It's nothing. It really isn't. So they've got a battle royale mode in there for Call of Duty, trying to take players from Fortnite over to Call of Duty. And of course, you've got clans or friends and stuff like that play Fortnite. They're going to want that community, some of them, to just drift off slowly but surely, or at least, even if they don't play the game, at least buy the game to try it out. And that's what they were going for. So anyway, that was the marketing or strategy of the Battle Royale putting in Call of Duty. However, so everyone, so that's my initial thought, but then we get into some real details here. So now let's go down the list. Okay, so first and foremost, the reason for its poor sales is the timing. Battlefield and Call of Duty go head to head every single year, or every time Call of Duty gets released, Battlefield releases the same month, competing for sales. And it's two first-person shooters, war-based, obviously, whether it be modern, whether it be old school, World War I, World War II, etc., etc. And they go head to head, and what you do as a gamer, if you can't afford both games, which most people can't because there's a lot of games coming out at that time, you prioritize one over the other. So if your and this goes into clans as well. So if your clan loves Battlefield, you'll buy Battlefield, and then you'll pick up Call of Duty maybe later on, or maybe you're not in a clan, you don't care, and you love Call of Duty, the fast-paced action. You're maybe not interested in Battlefield. So you've got priorities there, one way or the other. I personally always try and buy both for the story primarily, and then I probably stick to one or one of the multiplayers, depending on how I'm feeling. It is what it is, and that's how people often operate. However, with Battlefield and Call of Duty coming out, you've got Red Dead Redemption 2, which is essentially like Grand Theft Auto 6, which is going to be the most anticipated, and it's open world, and everyone's going to want to play it, even myself want to play it. So people, I think, on the list of those three particular games are prioritizing Red Dead Redemption 2 as their #1 buy. And then, they pick up a multiplayer game, whichever one they want, etc., etc. And so, the release dates of releasing the game at this particular time is always going to affect your sales. However, Battlefield are not helping themselves in the slightest. So the timing of it's a bit shitty. They're trying to catch the Christmas rush period or whatever. So first and foremost, you've got people picking one game over the other. That's fine. That's natural. And you've got to hope yours is the best, you know what I mean? So, and Rockstar is just going to kill it, obviously. So the second reason is Star Wars, Battlefront, and loot boxes. Now, a lot of people are pissed off at EA and the loot box situation, what happened with Star Wars. I myself was going to pick up Star Wars along with my friend. I recently got into Star Wars, seeing all the movies. I was like, you know what, I'm going to buy this game, I'm going to play the story, and, play as some characters or whatever from Star Wars, the heroes or whatever it may be. And, we'll be in some jets and God knows what, and have some fun. But with all the loot box situation that went on, and the fact that the campaign was about 5 or 6 hours long and they wanted full price for it and everything, I wasn't going to pick that up. A lot of people generally feel they got ripped off or were pissed off at EA and all the rest of it for doing ruining Battlefront 2. and I don't know if they even corrected it or whatever. I can't, up until this day, I haven't bought it, and I still won't. The problem is that with the whole thing with this global thing, this global power, the world globally, like we're all connected and everything. It may be global, and you get global sales and lots of money, but it's a small world in the fact that communities and people talk about everything and anything on social media, YouTube and stuff like that. So word gets spread. The gaming community is small, and like I said last week's News Friday, you know, we remember this stuff. I may report on a lot of games that I don't play, but I still know what you're doing, and I know if it's good or it's bad, and I, you know, tell the world what I think and whatever else, and people make their own decisions. So a lot of people are pissed off at EA for that, and probably don't trust them for this Battlefront. I mean, after Battlefront, they don't want to buy their next game in Battlefield 5. Now, the guy responsible for all the loot box stuff and who basically put it into other games and stuff like that, kind of spread it all across every aspect of it, a guy called Patrick Soderlund. He's a former head of DICE, and he was appointed by EA or head of design, is leaving EA. Now, a bunch of people on YouTube, for whatever reason, are saying that, he has to tell his wife, basically because of the poor sales, he got fired, and he has to sell his house, and, you know, blah, blah, blah. It's a lot of shit. None of that's true. In actual fact, EA wanted to have paid him $20 million to stay at the company, or try to say, look, we really like what you do for us. Here's $20 million. Will you please stay? He has not stayed. He's took the $20 million and he's walked away. Now, you'd have to be a fool to think that I mean, if he is selling his house or anything like that, yeah, he is selling it. And he's going to buy a much fucking bigger one, I can assure you. That's with $20 million. However, that's just the payoff. Would you like to know what he earned last year? He earned $48 million. He's been working for 12 years straight in the gaming industry, or maybe even more. I think it was at DICE specifically. He's earned money, or his general wages, for the past 12 years, plus $48 million last year, plus $20 million this year. He's fucking fine. He can retire if he wanted to. He'll start up his own indie company, go to another company, or just have a sabbatical for like a year and a half, 2 years even. It's up to him. The world is his oyster right now. He has left the company, so, and a lot of people are happy about that. So that's another reason with, like I said, the loot boxes and stuff, but the guy who was in charge of all that stuff or made it happen really is very comfortable. And I know a lot of people are pissed off about that, but that's just the way it is. The next thing, and this is where it gets a little bit sticky, and this is the elephant in the room I was talking about, and that is the political things that are going on with this game. Okay, so first and foremost, there's a woman in the game. She's front and center, and they're making her a big part of the pushing advertisements, how she's a badass and can do this, can do that. And people feel that it's a little bit, it's basically feminist or political correctness rammed down our throat once more. There was a woman on the box of the previous game. I actually didn't think the last game was actually that good, Battlefield 1. I didn't think it was good. They broke the stories up, and I thought the stories were very hit and miss. I only enjoyed 2 out of the 5 or 6 stories. And I just didn't enjoy the game in general. Multiplayer was okay, but I didn't stick to it either way. And I just felt there was only 7 or 8 hours, and the missions weren't that good. Now, in the last game, there was a black guy. I killed a black guy in the story, okay? And I didn't realize at the time. I thought, whose side is he on? I just killed him. Whatever, you know, we killed him, we moved on with the story. And I found out later on that he was actually a Nazi. Of course, the Nazis didn't like black people and didn't allow black people in their army. So it didn't make logical sense. And I've had people say, oh, well, that is blatantly wrong. They shouldn't have done that. That's kind of offensive, blah, blah, blah. And I kind of agree with that. How can you get something so wrong? It just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't. However, then you've got the women aspect of it being in this front and center of World War II or whatever. And then they're saying, well, those same people are saying, well, women should be allowed into it. It's fine. It's not much. It's just, well, if you want historical accuracy, You can't be for one thing of the black guy being a Nazi and be like, oh yeah, that's wrong, and then be, oh, women are in the thing, it's no big deal. So you're either all in or you're not. So you can't pick and choose your battle. You're either all in or you're not. I feel anyway. So there are people who are unhappy with the historical inaccuracy of it. Now, don't get me wrong. There were women in World War One, II, or whatever. And they did various roles, there's no doubt about that. They worked in factories and built bombs. They were snipers. They were even fighter jet pilots or whatever. And in doing spy stuff as well. They predominantly did that. So yeah, there were women in World War One or whatever, World War Two. But they did those specific things. However, they were not in frontline combat. That's why when you watch Saving Private Ryan, there isn't a woman doing D-Day. There just isn't. There's no, you know what I mean? They're not storming the beaches. And up until 2017, 18, 19 even, it's 2019, not next year obviously, women are still not in frontline combat. They're engineers and various stuff like that, but they're not out there on the front lines how you actually would think. Surprisingly, actually, in 2018-19, they're just about, the UK is about to review that policy, and then you've got the US, I think, have reviewed it or whatever, or going to review it. I'm not too sure where they stand on it right now. But you can see my point that in 1940, 1942, 3, 4, whatever, they didn't have them doing frontline combat. And even to this day, 2018, they don't do it as well. So it's not like something we're being fussy about. Well, it's like we're not nitpicking, it's just true to fact. So that's why people are upset about the historical inaccuracy and are not happy with it. It's not that we don't like women in our games or anything like that. Hell, I play all those Call of Duties, the modern ones, the Advanced Warfare ones, and there are women in it, and no one complains because it's a story that tells its own story, and we don't care about that. It's just, you know, when you're doing something historically and it's supposed to be accurate and you're not doing that. Now, to be fair to EA, they did come out, or DICE or whatever, and said that we're not doing it's not exactly accurate or whatever else, but that's kind of got lost in the shit that's going around the toxic stuff, because they're making so many other gaffes. And like I said, this is before we even get into the gameplay. So it's been a nightmare but before I get into the historical accuracy, before I move on from that, I will say this, is that politics are playing more and more of a part of our gaming industry, and the gamers will call it out, and they don't like it. You know, one example of this, you could even argue of, what's it called, The Last of Us 2, Ellie being gay or whatever, but if you played the previous game, she in the DLC anyway, she was gay in 2013 when the game originally came out. Then you've got Life is Strange, in which, you know, there's a hint of lesbianism there, or bisexual, whatever you want to call it, it's there. And then, you know, if you play that game further on, for example, basically there's a scene where she's talking to Rachel Amber's mum. Chloe Price is talking to Rachel Amber's mum. Now, you don't see it in my playthrough. I actually played the game and talked to her, and that was it. That was fine. I went back for a trophy or something I had to do, and I had to pick another choice. I picked another choice, and then the mum, Rachel Amber's mum, started blaming white people for something. I'm like, what the fuck is this? So it is there in our games, and it is becoming ever increasingly, and gamers don't like it, and they call you out. And remember, the gaming community can be very, very toxic, shit talkers, aggressors, angry people, but people, you know, align themselves with, and this is a mistake, one of the big mistakes, the elephant in the room, is that Battlefield seems to be aligning itself with kind of politics as well, putting more and more, that's what it feels like to most gamers. You're jamming this social justice or feminist crap down our throat kind of thing, like women are tough, women are badass, and we're seeing it in everything, from the female Ghostbusters in 2016, which nobody fucking wants to watch. In the new Terminator movie, Terminator 6, we got 3 women on the case, right? And the original headline, I think the New York Post ran this article, and it was called something originally something different, and then they changed it to dumb it down. And they basically said the best thing about this picture is there's no men on the front cover. No men. It's not emphasizing no men. I'm like, what the fuck? And then they changed it to something like, I don't know. I don't know what they changed it to, but they dumbed it down, and it was like, wow. So that was your original intent, because the underlying politics of of what you're doing is there, and we know it. So when you do something where you jam it down our throat and say, women are tough, blah, 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 we know they're tough. You just look at the women around you in your life and who work 9 to 5 and hard jobs and you know, MMA and all this fighting and all this. You know, we know women are tough. We don't need it thrust into our games kind of thing. And when you try and throw your politics at gamers, we call you out, we laugh at you, and we just hate you even more for it. And we don't change our opinion. We're just like, fuck you. And that's the problem. And this is where it comes in with this PR nightmare. And I'll give you some examples of why they're going so wrong. When you're somebody who represents a company, you have to be very civil and go and try and be neutral and go, this is what we've done, this is what we're offering, and that's all you can do. And if people want to watch somebody's content like me, or somebody wants to buy your game, then let them. But don't split your audience in half. Don't piss them off to the point where, you know, people are going to make a decision based on their politics, because politics and religion kind of similar, where people stick their heels in and they will say fuck you straight away. And that's but more or less the gaff they've made. So here's some examples. In an article, some woman who, I don't know her name or who she represented, DICE, or it was EA, but she came out and basically said, women are here to stay, get over it. Okay, but that's kind of like, damn, you should have been a bit more tactful there. Okay. Another person, a guy this time, came out from EA or DICE or whatever, and labeled the people who care about the historical accuracies of the game, which may be a lot of the fan base, it might be 20% of the fan base, it might be 50%, labeled those people, and I quote, uneducated. Uneducated sounds like a familiar word that I hear a lot being branded when somebody don't agree with you. You labelled them uneducated. That's quite ironic. And finally, coming out and telling people that if you don't like women in the game or our game, then don't buy it. So deal with women being just get over it. Don't buy our game, and you're just uneducated. You've just insulted most of the Battlefield community, or a lot of them. And people will do a protest, and they will simply do what I've always been saying with my, you know, vote with our wallets, and we won't buy your game. We will not buy your game on principle. We've switched to Call of Duty just on fucking principle, and so that compiled with the politics in your game, insulting your community, and then the loot box situation, as well as the timing, those four big things are all compiling on Battlefield 5. And people saying, fuck you, I'll move over here, because of all the gaffes. If it weren't one or two things going against you, you're now making it worse for yourselves. And people will stick to it. Now, I'm going to be very sly, and I will probably end up playing your game. But I ain't giving you a fucking penny for it. And I'll do that on principle. And I'll give you an example. And if you're unhappy about EA or DICE, and you want to get back at them, and you're happy to play their game, but you damn sure don't want to give them any money, I'm going to tell you how. First and foremost, let's start with the basics. You can simply borrow the game from your friend. So they've got one cell, and then you've basically borrowed the game and played it. But you haven't given them any money. That's up to you. That's cool. That's a simple way. Another way is, now you can, if you're going to give them money, but you want to give them less money, you buy it on the PSN store after about a year when it goes down to £10. Literally, you're fucking stealing the game from them. It's only a tenner or whatever it is. Who gives a shit about tenner? But you're not giving them 50. No way. And most games are hardly worth 50 anyway. But whatever, that's a waiting game. However, if you want the game 2 weeks after it comes out, because you're bored, you want to play it, whatever, or maybe you're curious, whatever your decision is on that, if you want to, go and buy it pre-owned in CX or Game or somewhere like that, and give them, because they probably charge, because it's 2 weeks after it came out and people have sold it by then, or 3 weeks, it'll be about 30 quid, but Game or CX or whatever will get all of the money on the pre-owned sale. They will, DICE or EA will not get a penny from your actual sale, buying the game from there, because it's pre-owned. The actual company keeps all the money, and they don't give nothing to the likes of DICE and everything else. And that's why a lot of these companies hate it when you buy pre-owned games, because it actually costs them. So that's a way of not giving them any money. But yeah, with all these gaffes, in conclusion, I mean, I wasn't happy about the women being in it, because it was just stupid and felt like it was too politics thrown in the face of everyone, and if I do buy it, I won't be giving them any money for it. And if I do, it'll just be the story anyway, more or less. I don't think I'll be buying Call of Duty anyway, because I don't really care about the multiplayer that much. I don't really play too many multiplayer games. I mostly play story-based games. But remember this. We are watching, and the gaming communities and the communities for those specific games and the gaming community in general are watching these companies and EA, DICE, whoever's out there, you know what I mean? Ninja Fury, whatever. And you know, if the decisions you make are clinical, and releasing statements, bold statements without really thinking them through is stupid, and we will remember all of them when you insult communities and stuff like that. What they should have done, and this is how I would have played it, is simply, hey, look, we've got a game, we've made this game, we've enjoyed making it, it's not historically accurate, we've said this, sorry to disappoint you in that respect, but this is the way we're going, and I hope you enjoy our game, and blah, 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 and that's it. That is it. You know what I mean? I know there are a lot of angry people in the community on Twitter and people like that, hounding them and all that kind of stuff. You just have to ignore them. And at the end of the day, just say, this is what we've done, I hope you enjoy it. And that way, if it's 10% of the people are angry and hating on you, and the other 90% see that you're like just saying, hey, we've made this and play it, please enjoy it, people will warn you and go, well, they've done this, but I'm going to play it anyway. But if you insult them and say, oh, you're uneducated, you're this, you're that, you're not addressing the issue, you're not being very neutral, you're just picking a side, you're splitting your audience, and people are like, what? You insulted us? You said that we shouldn't buy your game if we don't like women? And wow, that's fucking okay. And you've challenged them, and you've challenged people with a one-track mind or a mindset. Rather than be neutral, you're forcing people to pick a side themselves, and they go, okay, I'll pick this side because you've obviously picked that side. Fuck you, I'll buy Call of Duty. And that is essentially what they've done. Anyway, guys, that is just my opinion. And those are the reasons of why Battlefield is being killed in the sales. I think they'll slightly go up after the game gets released, because after a few weeks, people will want to pick up something new after Call of Duty initially, or Red Dead Redemption, and then they'll buy that. So the sales, pre-order sales, are looking shit anyway. And I suppose the question is, are you happy that EA are getting a kicking? I think a lot of people are. They're going to get a few billion from FIFA FIFA 19. They get billions every single year from that game. I'm not even going to lie, with microtransactions and the rest of it. I myself am going to be giving 60 quid to EA for FIFA 19. I don't deny this. But they will get a kicking for this game in particular. In the next Battlefield, there's other people speculating about the next Battlefield. What one would you like to see and stuff like that? I'm going to say the Bad Company series. I'd love to see that come back. That was fucking great. I love that series in the Battlefield, in that universe. That was particularly my favourite part of it before. And then Battlefield 4 is my all-time favourite though. Battlefield 3 was good, but Battlefield 4 is absolutely the best. And even now I will go back to that one more than any of the others. Anyway, guys, so let me know your opinions in the comment section below. Will you be buying Battlefield? Will you be buying Call of Duty with all the politics things going on? I'll leave a poll in the community thing as well, and on Twitter, so you can vote either place if you want to, and I'll put a question, what will you be buying, blah, 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 whatever it is. I'll come up with a poll about it, and you can vote on that, and we'll see after a week or two what people are thinking overall. Anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Links are in the description below. You can donate to me via PayPal. You can watch my Battlefield playthrough if you want, Battlefield 1 playthrough if you're interested in that. And I will see you next time. Thank you so much for watching.